At a really interesting time in history. We're looking at the 560 to 420 BC time frame. This is before the 400 silent years of Christ, before Christ came. And we're looking at the time of the resettlement of Judea and Jerusalem. Remember, there's been 2 to 3 million people taken out for the Babylonian captivity. And now some of those exiles, well, actually their children, are returning to the remnant that was left in the land. Remember that Jerusalem has been sacked. The temple has been destroyed. The city's walls have been knocked down. The gates have been burned. And 50,000 returned to the land with Zerubbabel because of Persia's tolerance of allowing the Jews to return to their land. There are 6 writers in this time frame: Malachi, Nehemiah, Zechariah, Ezra, and today Haggai makes 5, and they all talk about the return of this 50,000 and the rebuilding of the temple and the walls. However, during this same period of time, there's the book of Esther, which is a microscopic picture of a event that is going to change the course of the life of the Israelis that are still in captivity in Persia because of Esther, and it covers about a 10-year period, but it's in Persia rather than Judea and Jerusalem. Now, today, as we start to look at Haggai, it's very, very important for us to understand that it's not a long period of time. Haggai is probably 75 years of age, and he's dealing with just 4 months in time, September through December in 520 BC. Let me say that again. Haggai writes just in a 4-month time period at 520 BC from September through December, just 4 months. 16 years has passed since they began to rebuild the temple. Haggai has come back likely with Zerubbabel. And so he's seen this, that they've been working on the temple for 16 years and the temple comes to a screeching halt. Why does it come to a screeching halt? Why did the temple work stop? Well, remember that we have political pressure from the Samaritans that are in the land. We have the discouragement and fatigue of such a big task being given to such a few people. And we have the selfishness of the people who are more concerned with rebuilding their homes and the furnishing of their homes than they are about reestablishing the temple. So you might title the whole section as a misplaced priorities. Oh, does that sound something like today's world? Misplaced priorities? Well, let's take a look at that chart again that shows these books that were written during this resettlement time and recognize how Haggai fits into that time frame. And then we'll take a very close look at why Haggai is writing at this time and perhaps appreciate sometimes some of the people that are speaking to us today in the history of our nation. Second Timothy 3:16 and 17 says, all scripture is inspired by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness, so that the man of God may be adequate and equipped for every good work. Well, that's a true statement, isn't it? I studied that yesterday when we were doing the Proverbs lesson for First Baptist Landrum, but it's also true here. Haggai and Zechariah are both inspired by God to teach the people that are resettling Judea and Jerusalem that they can make a difference and that perhaps their priorities are messed up. Isn't it interesting that God would inspire two writers in just a short period of time to motivate, rebuke, and correct the people of Judea and Jerusalem to get back about the priorities of God, the rebuilding of Jerusalem. I've been watching with great interest the pastor at Mud Creek Baptist Church who's been crying out for revival, believing with all of his heart that God has told him to bring that message so that the people of America might wake up, recognize where we've gone, how far we've drifted from God. A fellow pastor that preaches in a very small church just over in Polk County said that he had read through the book of Jude recently, and he said we should be listening for the sound of the trumpet. Billy Graham's son, Franklin Graham, has been preaching as strongly as I know anybody has ever preached out of the Billy Graham organization about politics, because he too believes that God has placed him in this time in history to call America back to God. 4 months, that's all Haggai had. But God inspired him, and it should inspire us as we read that all Scripture, not just the New Testament, but all Scripture is inspired by God and is profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness. So over the next several days, we're going to be looking at Haggai's 4 messages. That's all he preached, or at least that's all it's recorded here for us. 4 messages to the nation of Judea and the people in Jerusalem about misplaced priorities. I hope you'll step back. I hope you'll think on where America is today, politically and socially, with this terrible pandemic. And ask yourself, has God placed some of these preachers in the churches that we're listening to for just this time in America? I listened to Five Forks Baptist Church and for First Baptist Landrum, and it seems like all of the preachers that I'm listening to are telling us to stop, take a look, listen. Is God trying to tell us something right now? Does he want us to look back at the Old Testament and see and learn from the Old Testament? I don't know. It sure seems like it to me. That's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.